Welcome to the Global Peace Film Festival Lives Online Conversation 2022 Festival Edition. Please join me, Kelly Devine, the Artistic Director, and Nina Strike, the Executive Director, in welcoming Karen Anstey, the filmmaker behind the film Approval Needed, which is part of the Free for All Shorts program of the 20th Anniversary Film Festival coming up. Our in-person screenings begin September 19th through the 25th, followed immediately by our virtual online programming beginning September 26th, running through October the 2nd. All the information about our film screenings and other live events can be found at our website, peacefilmfest.org. And now please join us in welcoming Karen Anstey to discuss her lovely, tender film, Approval Needed. Thank you, Karen, for being with us today.
Thanks. I'm just really thrilled to be sharing this film with your festival and your audiences. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, Karen. Just to start with, tell us about the film.
Well, the film is about what I would call a traffic warden, and my mother-in-law in New York would call a meter maid, who spends her days handing out tickets for drivers who are parked in the wrong place, and is therefore a hugely unpopular character. And it really charts her day, where she has a horrendous day. You know, it just feels like it can't get any worse, and she goes home and she's quite a lonely person. And then late at night, she goes to the supermarket to get some comfort food, and there butts heads with one of those self-checkout machines. And I don't want to give any spoilers really, but her day does get better, I guess, is the end product of that, even though it's a frustrating meeting that they have.
Well, Karen, the film, and I agree, I don't want to give anything away either, but one of the things that you do so beautifully in the film is to marry a very gentle kind of comedic thread through the film with some very real issues that are always undercurrents. Brexit is a real issue in your country. In our country, we're having our own issues, and it does seem, to be a kind of feeling in the culture that I think you deal with without having to put a name on it in a really interesting way.
Yeah, I mean, that what you're talking about is very much where the film came from. My first film was a very sad film about loss and grief, and so generally I like to write things that have a comedic, even if it's black comedy, something underlying, but I do like to write about something that has more meaning than that, like issues. And so after my first film, I was thinking, I'd like to write a comedy this time, something a bit more uplifting. I don't want everyone crying at the end. But at the same time, the UK was going through Brexit, and the upsurgence of anger and fear of the other and aggression was just so palpable. You could just see it. I mean, I live over the top of shops here, where I live in an apartment, and so there's quite a lot of traffic wardens outside and cars parked, and I literally saw it happening. And a lot of the people who do those jobs are immigrants or from immigrant families. And the just unbelievable aggression, and it really upset me, that whole feeling that like in 2012 we had the Olympics, and everything was open and everyone was so proud and happy, and I've just never known London be quite so wonderful. And then on the back of that, to become this mess of people being angry and hating each other and wanting to distance ourselves from friends. It is just, so it did come out of that. I wanted to somehow tiny protest of my own against that way of being unkind to people and not seeing the other as ourselves, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
and connecting to that message of kindness,
Mm.
as you have shown the film at different audiences, what has surprised you, or what have you learned in terms of the different things that people have picked up on, the different discussions around the film?
I think um, one of the things I learned by making the film was that, when I was looking for a character, I was looking for someone that everyone universally hates. And even my right-on liberal friends hate these people who give them tickets for their cars. And when I said, oh, I'm making a film about a traffic warden, they're like, oh, I hope something really horrible happens to them. And it's just been really nice sort of showing the film and having people saying, wow, I never really thought about them like that, like human beings. It's like you put a uniform on someone, and there is a very good reason why armies and navies wear uniforms. It's to take away your humanity, and we do that either to give people authority or to remove their humanity and their singularity as people. And I think it has made people think. I had one guy who really didn't get it at one festival and just sounded off about how horrible traffic wardens are. And I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, that really was a major fail. And that was my biggest disappointment. But generally, it's been that people have seen the point and they have thought about it. And also because of the element of the disabled person who's in the film, and the car, there's one instance where a car parks on a disabled space, and I just don't think people think about that either. And so that's been something, it's really been a conversation where people have certainly responded well to that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's that sense that people actually do think about it. And so if I change one person's day who does that job, I guess it's been a good thing.
No, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, you're very right to bring up the way that uniforms can remove the humanity of people, and certainly here in the United States, meter maids, or meter mollies, as they are variously called, also are universally disliked, and they have a tough job, and yet it's a required job. These regulations and policies are put in place to protect people, and to, there are good reasons for it, and unfortunately sometimes we project our own short falls onto other people. And I think that's an interesting thing that you see play out in your film.
Yeah.
But I was wondering also, I know in reading a bit about the background of how your film was used, that you use this a lot in educational settings.
Yeah, I was really fortunate that the Be Kind movement here, which is part, it's sort of, there's an overall kindness movement, and that this particular group here, they show the film in schools. I have blurred and bleeped out the curse words so it can't offend anyone, but they run workshops for all ages, up to young adult, to talk about racism and aggression and bullying, and talk, to try and encourage young people to be empathetic and put themselves in the shoes of the people who are on the receiving end of their anger. And that's probably the proudest thing for me with this short. And my first short is also used in universities and schools, but that to do with grief counselling and funereal services and things. And I feel like so many short films are, and to a degree, approval needed. There's a reveal, or there's a kind of I don't know what it is, a twist or something, and so many films, that's all there is to it. And I really wanted to make something that yes, you can watch it again and you can see something else. It's not all about the reveal or the moment, the comedy. It's that there is something else, and that's the fact that it's being used in schools that way. I am just so pleased, and I think it's the best use of a film. It's so enriching. Yeah.
Well, that's definitely in line with what our mission is at the festival. We work with a lot of educators, civic groups,
Mhm.
activist groups, and one of the reasons I was attracted to your film, in terms of our mission, is that while we do strive to find entertaining and compelling films, which your film definitely is, we also try to find films that we hope will inspire people to take something back into their own lives, into their own communities. That the educational aspect is one aspect, but we also love whenever there is a model or a message, or some of our films, even the filmmakers have calls to action and impact campaigns. So we really wanted to, point out the efforts that you're going to around and beyond your film in order to increase that impact and what that impact is, because that kindness project is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important because as I say, I mean, now my country is in a dire mess, really, and I don't know what it looks like from the outside, but from where I am, it's quite heartbreaking. And I think I've seen, like members of my family are not talking to each other anymore because of Brexit. And I sort of think the lines of communication have to be kept open somehow. It's one of my biggest Brexiteer friends. I just went on vacation, and however annoyed we are with each other about our various perspectives politically, he nonetheless watered all the flowers on my fire escape while I was away, and now it's looking better than when I was looking after it when I came back. And I was like, if we can't see kindness and appreciate it in each other, then there's just no hope. And so I guess, it's just great that your festival is there doing what you're doing, and that there are others, and that there are people trying despite it all to just keep people talking to each other. And it's cool.
That is so important, that people keep talking to each other, talk across, even with our political differences, we're all still, we're all still human, we're all still friends. We have to coexist together. So thank you for your film. So let us know, what can people do to support this film, and what's next for you?
Well, I mean, I'm always happy to share the film. So if anyone wants, to be able to show it in a school or something, something similar to what happens here would be amazing, because, the Be Kind movement is UK based, but there, any opportunity to share it further would be so welcome. And just to kind of go out there and spread that same word, really. I mean, I'm sure people who come to your festival appreciate the message of it, and must be part of the movement to be that way. And that's great. I think it's just about everyone talking to each other and spreading the word and being kind to each other. I mean, I know that the very first kernel of the film came out of me trying to buy a bottle of wine in the supermarket and not being able to get it because of that machine. And so, I do think that that's one of the other things with the film, is it's not just about how we interact with humans, but that we're replacing humans with machines. And actually, I now just stand in a queue to talk to a real person, even if that's a longer one than the self-checkout machine, because then you have a human interaction, and it's less lonely. So I just think there are just so many lonely people, and we need to look out for the people who might be on their own and don't have a community as well. I mean, it's just, there's so many layers of things I was trying to say with the film, and that's one of them as well. Yeah.
And what's next for you, Karen? What other projects are you working on?
I'm working on a number of things. I'm finishing up a project currently we're editing that came out of the pandemic. Approval Needed was shown in a festival a couple of years ago, actually, in Germany. And the woman who runs that, Linda, put out a call at the beginning of the lockdowns to say, does anyone want to come and have a directors get together from directors who were at the festival as a kind of support group and talk about film. And out of that, we then, of course, had to make a project together. And so we filmed this project with each of the directors in their own country. We've got one in Malta, we had one in Sardinia, several in Germany, me in London. And they all interlock into one film. And it's about loneliness and isolation and how people deal with that. And so that's something I'm working on. And I'm trying to make my first feature film, which is called Living with Honor. And that's a psychological thriller. It's quite a departure from things like Approval Needed. But even though it's a psychological thriller and there are gangs and there are guns and whatnot, but the basic core of it is about two sisters growing up in the middle of nowhere in a very difficult circumstances. And I've kind of wrapped around something that, that conceals the heart of it is about what happens to children when they're not supported and they become carers of alcoholic parents and they have loss in their lives, and how hard it is to then live this kind of life that's good afterwards. And so, at the core of it is I'm still there, in that sense. And I'm also writing an adaptation of my novel, which is about music, because I am a musician as well as a filmmaker. So that's so lots of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, that sounds like you have a lot of wonderful projects that we will be staying in touch with you so that we can get updates out to our Global Peace Film Festival followers through our social media channels. So to be continued, and good luck with all of those.
Well, thank you for
yes,
having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation, and thank you all for watching this particular Glow that we've had this wonderful conversation with Karen Anstey. Please do seek out Approval Needed as a part of our festival, and also you can go to Karen's website, approvalneeded.com, to find out more information about the film and possibly program it for your own educational opportunity. I'm sure she would be really glad to hear from you and hear your reactions about the film. And again, all of our programming, the information can be found at peacefilmfest.org. Our in-person programming beginning September 19, running through September 25th, and our virtual programming beginning September 26th, ending October 2nd. We thank you so much for your attention today, and we'll see you at the next Glow.